What a predictable turn from Nancy Pelosi today. Well, she and her caucus, of course, have spent the better part of 2 years claiming that Donald Trump and Putin are basically spooning together.
President Trump obviously seemed frightened in the presence of Putin. What was he afraid of? What is Putin blackmailing President Trump with?
The only leader who he is totally true to is Putin.
I've seen plenty of evidence of collusion. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need to have access to classified information.
From an intelligence perspective, we need to make sure that the President of the United States is putting America first, not Russia.
Oh, well, as Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept said today in a tweet, if Trump is literally controlled by Putin to the point where Trump is forced to act in the best interest of Russia at the expense of the U.S., which has been the prevailing claim, not of Dem fringes, but its mainstream, how can it be morally justified not to impeach him? Well, Nancy? Well, today, Pelosi said in a new interview, no to impeachment, adding, he's not worth it. No, wait a second. Is Nancy talking about Trump there or Mueller? Because now it looks like the special counsel may come up empty on this collusion deal. So Nancy just wants to move on from that to just plain old regular demonizing Trump 24/7. Well, and of course, Pelosi and company will get plenty of help from their state-run media outlets all the way through election 2020.
He has more than 10,000 lies racked up already.
But he'll forget he said it in 2 days, or he'll lie.
Lies and obstruction of justice.
Donald Trump's misogyny, racism, white nationalism.
Saul Alinsky would be very proud, kids. But the ruthless demonization doesn't stop with our current political leadership, because what the left wants is a total transformation of our country, the remaking of our history. Enter stage left, their new socialist poster child, who's not only claiming that FDR's New Deal was racist, but that Ronald Reagan was racist too.
I think a perfect example of how special interests and the powerful have pitted white working-class Americans against brown and black working-class Americans is Reaganism in the 80s, when he started talking about welfare queens. He's painting this like really resentful vision of essentially black women who were doing nothing, that were sucks on our country.
And to think I didn't know that the word sucks could be used as a noun. Learn something new every day. Well, and to think that they actually lined up around the block to hear that searing intellect. Well, with such gratuitous meanness about one of the most beloved presidents of the past 50 years, the South by Southwest Festival should be renamed, I don't know, the Mouth and Mouth Worst Festival. And as we've documented here in The Angle week after week, month after month, there is a concerted, across-the-board effort in the Democrat Party to demonize the entire American experience and the American tradition by degrading anyone and anything that doesn't pass their own radical muster. Now, remember, the it kids of the moment, they could be the leaders of tomorrow, God help us, so it's important that we not merely dismiss these episodes. In fact, anyone interested in preserving our freedom and our free market, not to mention the historical record, must use these moments to teach a new generation the truth about the country we love, our triumphs and the tragedies that we should learn from. But in the vicious landscape of the social media world, untruths become truths if they go uncorrected. I have a question. Do we even really have free speech in America today if millions of you feel afraid to speak your mind for fear of being demonized at work, at school, at your universities, even in the military? On the left, the impulse today is to control speech, not encourage more of it. CNN President Jeff Zucker was also at that South by Southwest Festival, justifying the DNC's decision to deny Fox a chance to host a Democrat debate. He basically said no one has the right to, get a debate, and then he went on to say, well, let's keep scrolling, guys. He said, well, look, Fox is basically state-run TV. So they don't have an obligation to give one to Fox. I think the question should be, is Fox state-run TV or blah, blah, blah? Well, rejoinder question. Has CNN become resistance TV, where the president, and by association, a huge swath of Americans who voted for him are treated like evil Neanderthals?
What the president is proposing here does not sound like it's in keeping with American tradition when it comes to immigration. The Statue of Liberty says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free.
President Trump is poisoning the American people. It is getting worse every day.
The president of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that.
This Make America Great Again hat is just as maddening and frustrating and triggering for me to look at as a KKK hood.
This is CNN. Well, where does James Earl Jones go to get his voiceover back after that thing? Now, is it any wonder that CNN's facing a $250 million lawsuit for defaming the reputations of those Covington Catholic students? The network routinely allows its ideology to eclipse facts, and then the demonization game soon begins. A few weeks ago, CNN actually hired Sarah Isgur Flores. She's a Harvard Law grad and a former Jeff Sessions spokeswoman at the Department of Justice. She was hired, and it was surprising to me, as a CNN political editor. I mean, what was CNN thinking, hiring a conservative? Well, the announcement set off shockwaves through leftist circles. Liberal journalists went bananas, started writing pieces maligning her. So my question is, did she lack any more journalistic experience than these people? You can see them on the screen, who were granted network perches after their political stints? No. Yet the DNC was quick to register its displeasure with Isgur in the role of political editor at that network. A Democratic campaign committee aide told the Daily Beast, Chairman Tom Perez and the DNC expressed to CNN that they have serious concerns with the hire. They continue to talk to the network about how this impacts 2020. And as of Wednesday, they got assurances that Isgur would not be involved in debates. Not only that, Jeff Zucker demoted Isgur to a mere political contributor. Well, she'll have zero role in shaping the coverage of the Democrats or their debates. Well, the good news is no one's watching CNN, so it doesn't really matter. So I've got a question, though. Will some crack liberal journo write a long, tedious magazine piece about how CNN is the mouthpiece with a direct line into the DNC and vice versa? Well, don't hold your breath. But it's important to note the tactic here. The left is committed to distorting history and destroying the past while demonizing anyone and everyone who stands up for American values and traditions. What started as the removal of historical monuments has now become a full-on assault on presidential legacies and the movements, namely the conservative movement that was created. And by the way, if a conservative does manage to secure a post inside one of these old dinosaur bastions, he or she will be vilified, condemned without cause, and driven out. Because the fanatical left, well, it's no longer about winning in the arena of ideas for them. It's no longer a debate and may the best person win. No, 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 no. Instead, they just work to take players off the field with blindside hits.
Hey, buddy.
But just not that funny. If Democrats want to make a difference, I have a suggestion. Why not start engaging instead of demonizing? You're welcome on this show anytime. How's that for openness? Meanwhile, Democrats don't really have any defense, do they, for what's happening, let's say, on the border, nor are they going to try to convince voters that they'd do a better job at leveling the playing field with China and forcing fairness in trade, or maybe how they'd raise your standard of living or have a stronger economy than Trump's. You know why they're going to not make that argument? Because they can't. All they really have left is some iteration of, you're a racist if you don't agree with us. That's not woke. That's just a sad joke. And that's the angle.